Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Beth Strausser, and I work in the policy office at the National Science Foundation. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the Fall 2023 NSF Virtual Grants Conference. This is the third day of the conference. I am now pleased to present this session, which will cover programs in the STEM Education Directorate. And this session will be presented by Dr. Elsa Gonzalez. Take it away, Dr. Gonzalez.
Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Elsa Gonzalez, and I serve as a program director in the Directorate of STEM Education at the National Science Foundation. I am going to spend the next several minutes describing the various programs and funding opportunities available at the National Science Foundation, particularly in the EDU Directorate, the Directorate for STEM Education. EDU focuses in three particular things: STEM learning and learning environments, broadening participation and institutional capacity, and STEM professional workforce development. All programs aim to enhance the preparation, increase the participation, and ensure the contributions of individual underrepresented and underserved in the STEM enterprise, and improve STEM learning and learning environments, such that all are prepared both to contribute to the STEM workforce of and benefit from the industries of today and the future. This is a little busy slide. This slide is a roadmap for you to see the breadth of programs at EDU. We will spend the rest of our time in this talk providing details about these programs. You will have access to these slides, and you can use these to get a high-level view of all the EDU programs. Please note that most of up-to-date information is on the NSF.gov EDU website. Let's start with the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM. EES provides support to grow the innovative U.S. STEM workforce by supporting the inclusion and success of individuals currently underrepresented in STEM. This includes also the institutions that serve them. Let's start with the programs. Advance, Organizational Change for Gender Equity and STEM Academic Professions. The Advance program addresses systemic gender-based inequities impacting STEM faculty with systemic change strategies. You can see the most current deadline of this solicitation on their website. The Alliance for Graduate Education and the Professorate, AGEP. AGEP aims to increase the number of minority faculty in STEM. And this program has a deadline coming next February. The Centers for Research Excellence in Science and Technology, CRES. This program has three different types of awards. CRES Center Awards provide research infrastructure, improvement, and support for eligible minority-serving institutions. HBCU RISE Awards support the development of research capabilities at HBCUs that offer doctoral degrees in science and engineering disciplines. And the CRES Postdoctoral Research Fellowship Awards provide research experience and training for postdoctorals at active CRES centers. The Historically Black College and Universities Undergraduate Programs, HBCU UP program. This program supports approaches to prepare HBCU undergraduates for the STEM workforce, as well as STEM faculty research capacity and professional development. The Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, LSM. The LSM program enables successful transfer of students from 2 to 4 year institutions, which is called the Bridge for the Baccalaureate. Also, increase undergraduate access to high-quality research experience, REUs, and facilitate transition of students into graduate programs, that is the bridge to the doctorate. The NSF Edis Bernice Johnson Inclusion Across the Nation of Communities of Learners of Underrepresented Discoveries in Engineering. This program supports broader participation efforts at scale through collaborative infrastructure. The Tribal College and Universities Program, TCAP. The TCAP program supports the creation of new degrees or disciplines at tribal colleges and universities, the enhancement of departmental programs, research grant for faculty, and capacity building. Let's now to see the Division of Research on Learning in Formal and Informal Settings, DRL. DRL provides funding for foundational and applied research to advance understanding of STEM learning and teaching. This includes the design, implementation, and study of learning environments, and the study of technologies intended to engage and enable STEM learning for all students. Let's start with these programs. Advancing Informal STEM Learning. This program contributes to research and practice that illuminates informal STEM learning role in equity and belonging in STEM, creating and enhancing the theoretical and empirical foundation for effective informal STEM learning, and enhancing science communication and the public engagement in and understanding of discovery in STEM and STEM processes. Discovery Research Pre-K to 12. This program seeks to significantly enhance the learning and teaching of STEM fields by pre-K to 12 students and teachers through research and development of STEM education innovations and approaches. The projects should result in research-informed and field-tested outcomes and products that inform teaching and learning. Teachers and students who participate in DRK-12 studies are expected to enhance their understanding and use of STEM content, practices, and skills. The innovative technology experiences for students and teachers. This program is an applied research and development program with goals to advance the equitable and inclusive integration of technology in the learning and teaching of science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, STEM, from pre-kindergarten through high school. Preparation for the current and future workforce is increasingly dependent upon the application and use of technology and computers. Now let's talk about the Division of Undergraduate Education, DUE. This division supports the design, development, and study of innovative STEM learning environments to improve learning for all undergraduates. The Division of Undergraduate Education, DUE. The mission of this division is to promote excellence in undergraduate STEM education for all students. Let's talk about their programs. The Advanced Technological Education, ATE. This program focuses on the education of technicians at two-year community and technical colleges. The Improving Undergraduate STEM Education, Education and Human Resources. This program supports projects to improve STEM teaching and learning for undergraduate students, including studying what works and for whom and how to transform institutions to adopt successful practices in STEM education. The NSF Scholarship in STEM. This program supports institutions of higher education to fund scholarship for academically talented, low-income students and to study and implement a program of activities that support the recruitment, retention, and graduation in STEM. The Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program, Noyce. The Noyce program recruits and prepares STEM undergraduates and professionals for teaching careers. Let's talk now about the Division of Graduate Education. Its mission: enable and inspire an inclusive, equitable, and globally competitive U.S. STEM workforce by supporting students' research, scholarship, and innovation in graduate education. Let's talk about the programs. Cyber Corps Scholarship for Service. This program supports scholarship in cybersecurity that requires a service obligation following graduation, equivalent to the length of the scholarship. The Secure and Trustworthy Cyberspace. This program supports research addressing cybersecurity and privacy, drawing on expertise in one or more of these areas: computing, communication and information science, engineering, economics, education, mathematics, statistics, and social and behavioral sciences. The Graduate Research Fellowship Program. This program supports outstanding graduate students as they prepare to serve as the nation's future STEM scholars and leaders. The Innovations in Graduate Education. This program supports potential transformative approaches to graduate education with a focus on preparing students in research-based master's and doctoral degrees programs for a range of STEM careers. The NSF Research Traineeship Program. This program prepares diverse cohorts of STEM graduate students for a range of STEM careers in high-priority, interdisciplinary, or convergent research areas. The STEM Education Postdoctoral Research Fellowship supports professional development activities for postdoctoral fellows to position them for careers as STEM education research scholars and to develop their expertise and experience in STEM education research, design, and methods. The STEM Education Organizational Postdoctoral Research Fellowship supports the development of cohorts of postdoctoral fellows as they engage in ongoing research, to develop independent research, and to implement an independent professional development plan under the guidance of an experienced sponsoring researcher. Let's talk now about some programs that cut across the Directorate and beyond. First, the EDU Core Research. The Core Research Program invites proposals for fundamental research that advances knowledge in one or more than the three research tracks: research on STEM learning and learning environments, research on broadening participation in STEM fields, and research on STEM workforce development. The EDU Core Research, ECR, Building Capacity in STEM education research. This program supports activities that will advance STEM education research, including professional development for researchers, institutional training on the use of cutting-edge research techniques, and conferences. The Faculty Early Career Development Program, CAREER. This program supports early career faculty who have the potential to serve as academic role models in research and education and to lead advances in the mission of their department or organization. The Racial Equity in STEM Education, or Racial Equity Program. This program supports bold, groundbreaking, and potential transformative projects addressing systemic racism and promoting racial equity in STEM education. The Computer Science for All. This program supports partnerships and research that helps equip high school teachers to teach computer science, K-8 teachers to incorporate computer science and computational thinking in their classes, and school districts to create computer pathways across all grades. The Improving Undergraduate STEM Education, Hispanic Serving Institutions, or HSI program. This program supports capacity building at HSIs to increase the graduation rates of undergraduate students pursuing STEM degrees in these institutions. The workplace equity for persons with disabilities in STEM and STEM education. This program supports fundamental, applied, and translational research that advances knowledge and practice about diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible STEM and STEM education workplaces and post-secondary training environments for persons with disabilities. I want to focus your attention now in the Proposal and Award Policy Procedures Guide, what we call the PAPG, which is updated regularly and provides information that guides both the submission of proposals and the management of awards. It's very important that you get familiar with the PAPG, and you can also look on the most current update, the PAPG 23.1, that is on their website. As I mentioned before, you will have access to these slides. And also, if you are interested in finding out more, about the programs on our directorate, NSF by Numbers is a great place which provides statistical and funding information for awards, NSF funding institution, funding rate, proposal evaluated, and obligation by fiscal year. And also another site that you can look closely is the award abstract search. This helps you to use search terms or other classification to find out what has been funded in divisions, program concepts. It has very different tools to search and find out more in detailed information about what it has been funded by NSF. Also, there are some more funding opportunities online, and this is just only the beginning. We really encourage you to look and go look closer and start looking at this website and have contact. Once you have any idea or any project that you would like to share with us, contact program officers on the different programs that we have taught. And please, now we will follow the next session for questions that you have. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez, for that informative presentation. And I'm also pleased to say that we have Dr. Leroy Jones II here to joining Dr. Gonzalez to answer questions, your questions that have come in. And we have plenty of time for Q&A. So I'll get started with the ones that have come in now, but please keep take advantage of having these two wonderful program officers here to answer any burning questions that you have about the EDU programs. Okay, so the first question is, how can I tell which directorate applies to my particular PI or institution? And I think maybe they meant division. Yeah.
Let me start. Well, welcome everyone. I want to apologize because I see several of your comments that it went too fast, some of the slides. Please, as I mentioned in the presentation, get back to the slides. There is plenty of information for each division and from the division and from the different divisions and the different programs. So go with detail to those. As you go through the different programs, that will give you an idea where your project might fit. And again, it's might fit. You may say, well, according with the solicitation, this is what the idea that I have. So once you have an approximation of this may be fit, contact the program officers from that program in specific. And then once you contact us, we will tell you, yes, it will fit. And we will tell you if what is the solicitation that you should be applying. And if for some reason we think that your project it doesn't apply to the goals of the program or the division in specific, we will tell you, we will start guiding you. Several times we put you in contact with other program officers in other divisions or with some other solicitation that we know we serve in different programs. So we can put you in contact with the division that in the program that might address more the project and the purpose of your project, aligning with the goals of the program. And I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Dr. Leroy Jones, if you wanna add something in this particular.
Sure, thank you, Elsa. The only other thing that I would add, which would be very, very helpful to the PI or to the program officer, if you actually provided a one-page kind of summary, which encompasses kind of your project summary as well as what the intellectual merits are and the broader impacts. So that will help that project officer kind of prepare for you when you have the conversation. And then also, if it doesn't quite fit in that particular division or program, he or she also reaches out to other program officers to have conversations with them as well, so that after they speak with you, they can direct you to them as well. That's the only thing I had to add, Elsa.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you both. All right, let's see. So, and somebody had asked, where can we find the slides? So the slides will be posted on our policy office outreach website, and that's nsfpolicyoutreach.com. So that is posted in the chat. Devonna had already answered that, but I just wanted to kind of say that out loud as well. So, okay. So the next one is there a comprehensive list of these divisions and funding opportunities available somewhere on the NSF website? And I know, Elsa, you had posted a link, but if you want to just.
Yes, I posted a link to the different divisions in this directorate. And again, if you go to the slides and one of the second, third slide, it has all the divisions under this directorate. You're gonna see the different ones, and then you can go in detail in the different slides. I think there was also the questions about the deadlines. Most of them, and I think Beth also responded to that, asking if there is a particular program or solicitation that you were inquiring. Most of them, they are yearly, so the day that you will see it. It was in October 23 or just passed on November 23. It will be in next year, but as you go to the link of the solicitation, you will see if there is, besides the yearly deadline, if there is another one, for example, in the spring. So we will really recommend you to go to the links of the particular programs, and then from there, look for the different deadlines. There is some projects like, and you can see to the PUBG, that there are particular like conferences, workshops that you can reach out to program officers, and those they don't have deadlines, so due date. So you won't find a deadline for particular projects like conference or workshops. Leroy, also, if you wanna add any other information that I'm missing.
No, not at all. I mean, you covered it very well. The other place that I would really encourage you to take a look at is the NSF website. I mean, it is very, very user-friendly. You can actually look at the directorate as well as the division and the individual programs to see, the activities. And then also on that website, there is a search feature where you can actually search awards so that you can get an idea of, what the NSF funds and what they invest in. So I would really encourage you to peruse the NSF website as well to look for those opportunities.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So next question is, this person has a conference of 10 engineering colleges that have come together for a robot competition. And they're wondering whom should they speak with to craft a proposal.
So we're, the Directorate for STEM, education. So it really depends on the focus, of that particular competition. I know that we do a lot in cybersecurity. I mean, you saw a couple of slides around that, but also you might be able to take a look, in the Department of Undergraduate Education or also in the Department for Research and Learning. So it really depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to pitch. So if it's more kind of on the STEM education side, then of course, that can fall in us and we can find opportunities there. But if it's more engineering, then you need to really be looking at the Directorate for, for engineering, for those individuals there.
Yeah. And actually, I'll put a plug in. So this afternoon at 1:00, there will be one of these sessions for the Directorate for Engineering. So just, you may want to, that person might want to log on to that session, might be helpful. Okay, all right. Next one is this person would like to know some more information regarding the eligibility for the IUSE DCL. And then when you answer that, then they have kind of a follow-up question there. But let me do that first. So eligibility for the IUSE DCL.
I think we might need further information for which DCL and it is dear college letters. It has different ones, and probably some of them, the DCL that they are out there, they are in preparation for coming solicitations for several of them, or for projects that for funding that is available in certain time. Like the CHIPS initiative or that mandated from federal mandate. So I will be probably, if there is a following question, Beth.
Okay, sure. And I'm just looking up this. So this is improving undergraduate STEM education.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to look and see. Hold on, bear with me a minute here. Let me just pull up and see what the okay. So it looks like all of the categories of proposers to the PAP guide are eligible to apply for that. So that would be, your institutions of higher education, tribal governments, nonprofit organizations, that sort of thing, would be eligible to and actually even for-profits would be eligible. So okay, so then the follow-on question is, if they are eligible, do they need to include new to IUSE EDU DCL in the letter of collaboration? And they're asking because they've received signed letters of collaboration from some advisory board members.
It really depends on what they're asking for in the actual DCL. And it'll be very important that you reach out to the program officer that is in charge. For some, they look for that as attachments. For others, they don't. So I think I would suggest that you reach out to the corresponding cognizant program officer for that information.
There are some programs like the HSI program that has different tracks, and they, like track 1 that there is planning and pilot, if proposals, if you also address that there is a new institution where it's new or the first time that is applying for or submitting for that funding, is important information that is included in the narrative, more than in the letters of collaboration. But again, it depends, as Leroy was mentioning, contact the program officer of the particular program that you are intending to submit. But there is some of them, like there is even on the solicitation that is mentioned that it will be support, that will be important if you are to mention that you are the first time that you're submitting.
Great. Okay. All right. Next question is this person is saying that if their primary appointment is in STEM research and STEM education, but not in educational research, should they partner with somebody who specializes in educational research to, if they're going to propose an educational research project, should they partner with somebody in that field?
For this particular question, Beth, I would need to better understand what do they mean by educational research. Because if I see STEM research and STEM education, that in itself, I mean, they might be applying that just to higher education, whereas educational research, are they talking about K through 12? So for this one, I just need a little bit more clarity. If they can actually put that, into the Q&A, that would help me out. Elsa, are you understanding this a little bit better?
Yes. Well, no, I agree with you, Leroy. Probably my only other suggestion, and sometimes these suggestions go to answering different questions. If you are not sure about, you have questions and you have the idea, but and you contact the program officers. Several of us was also through the agency. What the practice that we are having is once we receive your one-page summary, we make a 30 minutes appointment where we go with you one-on-one, so you can explain with more details what you're trying here in your questions, and then we can go on detail with you what you mean about educational research, STEM education, the team that you are putting together, if you need to collaborate with someone. I mean, all those kind of questions that probably is particular to your project and to your idea, it can be discussed in those meetings one-to-one that all of us, we are setting up. Once you contact us and send us the one page, we can go to our calendars and make time available for meeting with you. It's a practice that is going through all the program officers around the agency. So feel free to do that. We do that, and we're trying to outreach and do these kind of activities and go through to the community, also providing this opportunity to meet particularly with you and hear about your idea and your questions.
All right, that's great advice, and actually, that kind of relates to one of the other questions that has come in. This person says that they're going to be, in the area soon. They mentioned Arlington. We've actually moved to Alexandria, but it's still in Virginia, not too far away from Arlington. Anyway, they're wondering, so, obviously you just said, Dr. Gonzalez, that people can set up virtual appointments. Is it possible to set up an in-person meeting?
We will look to our calendars and then we'll see the dates that you are there. And also once we know what is the idea and the project, we may even say, well, probably this program fits more to your project. So this program officer, and let's look for the calendar of our colleague and see if they are available in the day that you are going to be there.
Okay. All right. Great.
Hey, Beth, one additional thing that I would like to add.
Sure. Yes.
So the NSF with the project officer have quite a bit of workplace flexibility. So I would encourage that you actually reach out to that PO and not just show up, just to make sure that they're actually in the office, on that particular day. But to your question, I have seen different people in the building spending time with project officers, to answer the questions.
All right, great. Yes, and that's a very good point, Leroy. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, and also, it is a government building, so there are there are protocols that security protocols that have to be followed. So we have to put you, if you are coming for an in-person meeting, you have to be put into the system. So you can't just kind of like show up. Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is a a question that is I think on everybody's mind right now. How has this summer's SCOTUS decision striking down affirmative action in admissions impacted the STEM education directorate programs?
Do you want to start, Robert?
So are you going to take a stab at it, or you wanted me to address
You want to
it?
start? You want to start?
Sure.
As some of your projects, I know they haven't done.
Right. So shortly after the decision came out, there was a town hall meeting with our CDIO about that particular decision. And as it, goes now, we're continuing with business as usual until we hear something different, from leadership. A lot of the programs in the Directorate of STEM Education actually have congressional mandates. So in that case, we're just continuing to run these programs until we're told differently. So to your point, we have received several calls from different individuals from around the nation, regarding this, and we tell them, to, of course, be cognizant of what's going on in your state, but for the National Science Foundation, we continue to move forward with our programs.
We recommend, as Leroy mentioned, look for your local policies and procedures in your institution and how your institution is addressing them. But when is the time for submission and putting together your project, look at the goals. As usual, look at the goals of our program, look at the goals of the solicitation, and as you address them, projects are being reviewed based on the criteria on merit in the merit review that are under those goals of the particular program. There is, as Leroy mentioned, business as usual, but business as usual is look at our goals and look at that your project address those goals. So that's what, as you put together your project, is what you need to look at as you keep in mind the procedures of your own institution.
And the one additional thing that I would like to add, and Elsa brought up a very, very good point. Each proposal or each solicitation, has goals, objectives and missions that we're trying to reach. So if you put forth the proposal, on behalf of your institution, there's an expectation that you will carry out, what you have proposed. So with that being said, it's very important that you talk with those individuals at your institution to just ensure that you will have the support for that proposal, if it's awarded.
Several of the projects they look we review the proposals for letters of collaboration, letters of support from your leadership. Recently has been also a point that we look closer. So we're making sure you have the support of your leadership to carry on that project in particular, that idea in particular, that we will that is addressing the goals of that particular solicitation and the program that has potential of be funded, but also that we want to make sure you will have the support back home in your institution that it will be happening.
Great. All right. Thank you. That's all the excellent advice to people. So, okay, the next question has to do with this person is saying unsolicited planning proposals to ISIL. And I actually went out and took a look. So I can answer this one, but obviously you can chime in if you want to, say anything further. But so they say they know the PI must contact the program officer first, but they've heard that the project description must be 8 pages for those planning proposals. But they were seeking confirmation of that. And I do, like I said, I went out to the ISIL solicitation and I do see that it says, for planning proposals, it needs to be 8. The project description needs to be 8 single space pages. So I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to that, or
No, that's why it's so important to look at particularly the solicitations, because they may have even some particular review criteria in some solicitation that once you go through the details, you can go and follow those what is mentioned in the particular solicitation.
The only thing that I would add, Beth, to that is that it's probably most important that you reach out to that program officer to get the okay to submit it, because one of the things that you will have to do is actually upload into the supplemental section the email that approves you actually submitting that proposal. If not, it could be returned without review.
Got it. Great. Okay, I want to circle back to the person who had asked the question about, that they have their primary appointments in STEM research, but not educational research. So they've come back and provided a little more information here. So they say that so they do chemical research and teach chemistry, but they want to do a study on how you teach chemistry. But they don't have any, training or background in chemical educational research. So again, they're wondering, should they partner with somebody on the proposal who has that educational research background?
So Elsa, were you going to answer? Or do you want to
Yes, that will go. I mean, I think as you provide more details, share your one page with any of us, because your idea, of course, is supported by the Directorate and from several of the divisions and programs. So it could be just that you address what is the particular solicitation that is coming next with a deadline. But yes, your teaching, learning is a core part of our Directorate.
The other thing that I would add, it really depends on what program and division you're submitting it to. So if you were submitting it to DRL, yes, you probably would need to partner with someone in educational research, because that's really a big part of their emphasis. And even in EES, where Elsa and I, are at, if it was going to DUE, depending on what the program is, maybe not. But going back to Elsa's point, that's why you need to have that conversation with the program officer, and they will tell you, if that educational research is needed for your project.
One of the things I would like to add in answering some of the questions that they talk about, I had this expertise. Should I partner? Should I collaborate? I mean, there is, I think, 2 or 3 questions about that. We do understand that, and we expect that you are an expert in an area. And that's why actually we look on detail and what you're telling us, what is your expertise and what is your project about? So how you're gonna put together your team, who is gonna do what, and what expertise every one of the co-PIs, consultant, advisory board, all those different pieces and all those different people that you're putting together in your team are gonna be collaborate together to put to address the project that you are bringing to us. So that's very important that also you communicate that, because if you are telling us that you have certain expertise in certain methodology, but you are going to address another methodology, we are going to be expecting that you are partnering with someone else that brings that methodology. So we understand that your project is going to be successful, because at the end is what we want, that your project be successful. And as you communicate that in a clearly and detailed way to us, with letters of collaboration, timeline, logic model, and the different people who is part of your team, that will help us to understand how successfully your project is going to be addressed. So bring out that information. Your 15 pages is one piece, your project description in one piece, but all the other people, the budget justification, all those, they are all together. Tell us the story and communicate the story of how your project is going to be addressed.
Great. Okay, thank you. This person is asking about, can you highlight the major changes to the programs in the past year, and what changes do you anticipate going forward if NSF's budget increases or decreases? There's so many programs that EDU and all of our directorates support. So that's kind of a hard question to wrap your hands around. What I would say for that one is that in the program solicitation, when they're updated, there's always a spot at the beginning of it that's important information and revision notes, and that will summarize what are the major changes that have been made to that program, that funding opportunity since the last iteration. So I think that's probably a good source for that information. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add about that? Or
No, Beth, as you said, as you saw in that original slide, there's lots of programs within EDU that are within EDU, and there's also cross Directorate as well as cross the NSF. So it'll be hard to really answer that question. Kind of a big picture thing that we've noticed in the last couple of years from the director's office has been really getting students as well as doing research in these emerging technology, type areas. So that has been a push, and as a result, the new TIP Directorate was just started, which kind of goes across directorates to look at programs and collaborate to get individual researchers as well as students and as well as STEM education, into these emerging technology type areas.
Okay, all right. So the next one has to do with the departments, often want to support their disabled students, but they have limited funding for that. So this person is wondering, are projects that support those kinds of purchases eligible for the workplace equity for persons with disability in STEM and STEM education?
Well, the division where Leroy and I are, the EES, Excellent for Equity in STEM, we just started, I think, well, now it's a couple months ago, last month, a new program, and with coming out with a new solicitation that it particularly is on this population. And so go and look. Is really they're having a lot of informational sessions, and we do have a program for persons with disabilities, and we are very excited about it. And the new solicitation is out, and we are excited for coming out with that, addressing the needs and the work of those persons with disabilities. So please reach out to us, to our program officers in our division, EES, which particularly have a program solicitation for persons with disabilities.
The only thing that I would like to add, you can add that, you can approach that two ways. As Elsa was saying, NSF 23593, which was in her slide deck, was just recently released, and that really kind of deals with kind of studying the barriers and solution, for those type of populations. But there's also, if you're looking for equipment supplements out there, that you can actually apply for as well, that will assist you in purchasing equipment that will allow those populations also to participate in your research projects. That's another avenue as well as for supporting people with disabilities.
Okay, great. Okay, next question is, can you discuss how the IU funding mechanism, the Improving Undergraduate STEM Education funding mechanism, differs from the EDU core research funding mechanism?
The USC focus their goals on access, retention, and graduation of particularly undergraduate students. and the ECR focus mainly in core research in education in general. As we go in detail to the different programs that they have, you will see how it's addressed in particularly with the different solicitations. But in general, they with the USC focus more on the graduate students and the retention and success of those students.
Yep. So an example of that, with the IU's program, say if we're talking about the Division for Undergraduate Education, my background is chemistry, and I taught organic chemistry for years. So if I wanted to try out something new like POGL or some of the other things, I might submit an IU's proposal, to incorporate that, into my classroom. Whereas with the core research, it deals with fundamental research of how students learn.
Great. Okay. I want to take a, I'm sorry, before we get to the next questions, I want to also, we haven't been, we want to address or if we have attendees from EBSCOR territories and jurisdictions, we really wanted to know that NSF and our Directorate is looking to support PIs in those jurisdictions. So please consider also that we have different opportunities particularly for PIs on those territories and states. And it's important that also, again, you contact us, contact program officers, but different solicitations are really addressing this funding and support for projects in those areas. Okay. All right. Okay. So next question is for the EDU programs that, address or touch on K through 12 education. First question, there's two questions. First is, do you or the reviewers expect that proposals will have K through 12 teachers or administrators as co-PIs?
That's a very, very good question. There's a program within ES that I'm working on, and they were trying to establish a center. And one of the deficiencies that came out from the panel was that they were not involving kind of the K-12 or the districts in their proposal. And it really hurt their ratings. So long story short, if that is your focus, you should have someone on there, if they're not a co-PI, either on advisory committee or senior personnel or something working on that program, so they can help inform the project as well as establish those networks and those collaboration with K-12 entities. Okay. Elsa, did you want to add to that?
No, that's I think back to my previous comment about putting together how you put together your team and bring different experience and expertise. I mean, as you communicate that, you may not have that expertise, but you need someone else to inform that particular project who is going to have their context is going to be K to 12. And if you are not an expert or work closer to that community or that group, you need someone in your team, again, as maybe not as a co-PI, but on the advisory board, who really help you to inform and at the end, this help you to have a successful project. That is what you want and we want.
Right. Yes, definitely. And the second part of that question is, do current K through 12 teachers or administrators serve on review panels for those programs?
Yes, as we put together panels, one of the first things is what is the projects are about. And once we see the projects are about for that particular panel, we call and invite panelists with that experience and expertise, even geographic expertise. I mean, that they can really provide a truly review of those projects who are proposals who are being evaluated in that particular panel. So yes, we do consider administrators and experience and expertise in our panels.
Okay, great. All righty. Let me see here. Okay, so there are some kind of very specific questions about, specific solicitations. Is there a tentative date or other information on a new ATE solicitation being issued? And is iTest being replaced by iTest RC? That I think probably the answer is, they should reach out to, the Cognizant, one of the Cognizant program officers listed in for those programs to, get more information on that. Yeah. Okay, let me see what else here. And somebody else was talking about cybersecurity topics are sensitive and have regulations associated to foreign scientists. Again, it's that is something, we do have research security disclosures that are required in the proposal. You can be sure to follow the PAP guide about that, and then you want to make sure, that you're following anything in the solicitation also, that any specific information in the solicitation. All right. Okay, I think we probably have. Oh, somebody wants your email address, Dr. Jones,
Sure.
to get in contact with you. And okay, and let's do one more. I think we have time for one more quick question. Can we include a school administrator as senior personnel?
Yes, it can. Yes, they can. I mean, the budget justification, you will include why you are including that particular person and what is bringing to the team, and what time is dedicating to the project. So the budget justification will tell us the role of that particular person and the time that is invested.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Beth, I put my email in the chat for that individual.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, well, I think we are almost at the top of the hour here, so we want to thank everybody for joining us today, and Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Jones for answering all of these great questions that people sent in. We would greatly appreciate it if the participants could complete our survey, as we love to get your feedback. You can find the link to the survey in the chat, and we appreciate your responses, as those survey results, they do really help us shape future conference sessions. I want to let everybody know that the NSF Grants Conference is making a return to a in-person gathering for the first time since fall of 2019. So mark your calendars, save the date, June 3rd to the 5th, 2024. We will convene in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's my hometown. So yay, Philly. And for those unable to join in person, a virtual option will be available. And then please, I mentioned this earlier, but please join us this afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the second round of concurrent sessions that will be covering the Directorates for Engineering, Geosciences, and Mathematical and Physical Sciences. So thank you very much, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye now.